It is surreal, even looking back at the people that we were. One, when we first got together and we first stepped into Mosaic.
We got to discover Mosaic together, and at the time we just didn't know how big of a role it was going to play in our lives and really change us and our relationship and just strengthen our relationship.
So I'm Ben.
And I'm Angie.
And we are
the Glass-Liu.
A little bit about me. I grew up atheist. My whole family is currently atheist. I had never been to church, didn't really have a lot of Christian friends. I don't think I got invited to church as a kid or even in college. I did start to develop agnosticism, where I felt like there was something else out there. Sometimes I went looking in the wrong places. Relationships, making music, dabbling with drugs, all these different things that never really served me.
I was the complete opposite of Ben. I grew up in a Baptist church, and Christianity and church was kind of my entire life. I was really struggling with depression and anxiety. It was at that moment where I was at rock bottom where God stepped in. And for the first time ever, he told me to go home, back to Texas. Things just started happening one by one. And one of the things was leading me to Austin to work at a digital marketing agency where I met Ben, and he was my cubicle mate. He sat right next to me.
We were friends for about a year.
I was very career focused, and I didn't want anything kind of distracting me. During that year, we genuinely got to build a really solid friendship. While I was on this journey of, kind of seeking God, I knew that I needed to be involved in a church family and build community. I essentially just did a Google search of local Austin churches, and Mosaic was one of them. We actually got to visit Mosaic together.
It was either the first or second service that we went to where I really started to like it and started to enjoy it, because I had all of these questions and all of these doubts about Christians and Christianity in general and about Jesus. Kept going back to Mosaic. At the same time, our relationship was developing and we were in love pretty quick. We were head over heels.
We moved pretty fast.
Yeah.
We moved in together after 2 months.
At the same time, we were also deepening our relationship with God.
They had brought up something about community group, I think, during service, or like getting connected. And then we had went to the connections table. I remember we were extremely nervous, more so me than him. Honestly, like the moment that we kind of set foot in Jenny and Kristen's group, it just kind of felt like home. Everyone was different, individuals coming together, but all had one thing in common, and it was that they loved Jesus. We had decided that we wanted to become members of the church. We started taking the membership classes. I got hit with a hard punch and a hard face of reality. Basically that we couldn't be members just yet and serve in certain roles because we were living together actually, and we weren't married yet. And so that was like something hard to come to terms with. But then we talked about it, and I started, like, God opened my eyes. It was just gonna be very difficult. At the same time, like, our heart postures, we just weren't there yet. Mosaic was incredibly patient with us and very loving.
They were firm with their standards for members, but they were never harsh to us. It almost just planted a seed in our hearts that we didn't even know was there and we didn't know was growing.
We still continued our walk with God. I feel like a big part of that was the community group, just having that circle around us, that community around us to still kind of encourage us on our walk with God, help lead us to this decision of us fully wanting to accept Christ. After we got engaged, we again kind of started feeling it. God kind of tug on our heartstrings. So, we gave up premarital relationships, and it was death. And we were still living together while we made that promise and commitment to God. I had started to feel like there's one more thing that God is telling us to do, and it was to move out.
God had spoken to her, and all the same doubts that we had before came up. Jenny just put 2 guys in our group, John Moss and Corey Mose, and said, hey, Ben needs a place to stay. Do either of you guys have a spot? And they immediately responded and said that I could stay with them. It was a really impactful time for me personally, just learning how to study God's word. And then also me and Corey just had great fellowship time, being roommate for 3 months.
All of them just played a huge role in it, and we just felt so incredibly loved by them, by our community group, and how everyone showed up for us. And then Pastor Alyssa married us. And it was beautiful, and we finally got to move back into
That's right.
to the same apartment.
No more suitcase.
We got super involved in Mosaic as soon as we came back from our honeymoon. So I joined M Kids, and then you joined Emma Kids a little bit later after that. I also helped at the coffee bar. We continued going to our community group. Jenny and Christian were encouraging us to kind of step up and become leaders ourselves. Trusting in God, we managed to get a little bit of a bigger space that we could start hosting, and we became community group leaders ourselves. I am so thankful to Mosaic and to our community group. We have lifelong friends that we love and we adore.